During a major Jewish holiday, Hamas launched a huge and surprise attack deep within Israel, catching Israeli security forces off guard. This attack was especially bold and precisely timed, with the goal of maximizing the element of surprise. In addition to their ground assault, Hamas militants launched a rocket fire into Israeli territory. These rockets not only generated panic and anxiety among Israeli citizens, but they also functioned as a decoy to deflect Israeli security forces' attention away from the foot incursion. Hamas fighters used explosive devices to breach the heavily defended border fence that separates Gaza and Israel. They were able to infiltrate Israeli territory through this breach, getting beyond the border and obtaining access to neighboring areas. Surprisingly, Hamas targeted many places outside the Gaza Strip, reaching as far as 24 kilometers from the border. This is a significant and coordinated attempt to spread uncertainty and disorder across a large geographical area. Towns and communities were among the targets, raising worries about the safety and security of both residents and Israeli military installations in the targeted areas. So, in today's video, let's take a look into the Israel-Palestine conflict. The multi-pronged onslaught launched by Hamas represents a dramatic escalation in the long-running Israeli-Palestinian conflict, with far-reaching ramifications for regional stability and peace attempts. The strike disturbed Israelis' life in many regions and added to the challenges of resolving the conflict. The Hamas raid on Israel resulted in a large number of deaths, with over 1,200 Israelis injured or killed. The large number of casualties reflects the seriousness of the attack and its impact on the Israeli people. During the attack, Hamas terrorists took over at least one Israeli military base. Videos circulated on social media showed militants taking Israeli military equipment and captives. This development not only demonstrates the boldness of the attack, but it also raises concerns about potential intelligence and security breaches. In response to the scale and severity of the attack, the Israeli government declared a state of war.
אזרחי ישראל, אנחנו במלחמה. לא במבצע, לא בסבבים, במלחמה. הבוקר חמאס פתח במתקפת פתע רצחנית נגד מדינת ישראל ונגד אזרחיה. אנחנו בתוך זה משעות הבוקר המוקדמות. כינסתי את ראשי מערכת הביטחון. הנחיתי קודם כל לטהר את היישובים מהמחבלים שחדרו פנימה. הפעולה הזאת מתבצעת בשעות הללו. במקביל הוריתי לבצע גיוס מילואים נרחב ולהשיב מלחמה שערה בעוצמה ובהיקף שהאויב לא הכיר. האויב ישלם מחיר שהוא לא ידע מותו. אני קורא בינתיים לכל אזרחי ישראל להישמע בקפדנות להנחיות הצבא, להנחיות פיקוד העורף. אנחנו במלחמה ואנחנו ננצח בה.
This declaration emphasizes the seriousness of the situation and the need for an early and effective military response. Furthermore, the mobilization of Israeli reservists demonstrates the country's determination to defend itself against this aggression. Given the enormity of the attack and the security dangers posed by Hamas fighter infiltration, Israel is very likely to launch a long-term military operation within the Gaza Strip. The goal of such an operation would most likely be to rescue hostages, recover military equipment, and neutralize Hamas militants.
Aircraft carriers and ships to this region, a show of support that's really meant to send a message to other countries and groups in this region, warning them not to get involved, particularly Iran and Hezbollah, both of which have suggested they would take action if Israel moves forward with a ground assault in Gaza. And if that were to happen, of course, that risks turning this crisis in Gaza into a regional war. Jeff Semple, Global News, Jerusalem.
The ensuing violence not only poses a threat within Israel, but also has the potential to escalate regionally. The recent large-scale Hamas attack on Israel must be understood in the perspective of a larger geopolitical setting. This setting includes a number of international agreements and transactions that have the potential to alter the dynamics of the whole Middle East. Peace treaties, arms deals, and nuclear treaties are among the accords reached, with Iran and Saudi Arabia emerging as significant players in this complicated geopolitical scene. The strike is more than just a regional dispute, its ramifications extend far beyond Israel's and Gaza's borders.
As the war escalates between Israel and Hamas, Saudi Arabia is putting US-backed plans to normalize ties with Israel on ice. According to reports, Saudi Arabia is rapidly rethinking its foreign policy in the wake of the war. The conflict has also pushed the kingdom to engage with Iran. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman took his first phone call from Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi. This comes as Riyadh tries to prevent a broader surge in violence across the region.
One of the key motivations for the strike is to disrupt peace discussions and developments involving Israel and Saudi Arabia. There has been an increase in conversations in recent months about the potential of an American-brokered normalization agreement between these two countries. This peace agreement, described by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman as the most significant historical pact since the Cold War, could have far-reaching implications for the Middle East security architecture. Iran, a major regional player and one of Hamas' key sponsors, is concerned about the prospective Israeli-Saudi peace pact. Iran's soft power and regional influence are inextricably linked to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. A peaceful resolution between Israel and Saudi Arabia might reduce Iran's status and influence, both regionally and globally. As a result, it is possible that the Hamas attack, while not conclusively tied to Iranian direction, is motivated by the broader regional environment, with Iran attempting to stymie the development of these peace talks. The ramifications of the attack include the development of a Middle Eastern defense pact, presumably modeled like NATO, comprising the US, Saudi Arabia, and Israel. A treaty like this would try to limit Iran's regional influence, allowing the US to lessen its military commitment in the Middle East. This geopolitical maneuver has the potential to drastically alter the regional balance of power, highlighting the rationale for the attack. As a result, Hamas' attack on Israel has far-reaching implications beyond the immediate battle, highlighting the complex interaction of international treaties and geopolitical interests in the Middle East. Recent discussions about a peace treaty between Israel and Saudi Arabia, as well as the potential of building a Middle Eastern NATO, are critical aspects in the region's geopolitical backdrop. A defense deal of this type would try to limit Iran's influence in the region while simultaneously reducing the U.S. military footprint in the region, indicating a dramatic shift in the balance of power. The far-right Israeli government, led by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, has considered annexing the West Bank. If carried out, this annexation would have far-reaching consequences for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and regional stability. By annexing the West Bank, Israel extends its jurisdiction over the land at the heart of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This decision might complicate and escalate the situation by undermining the internationally recognized two-state solution, in which the West Bank is expected to be part of a future Palestinian state. The annexation could result in a significant escalation of conflict, jeopardizing any ongoing peace efforts. The possibility of a Palestinian exodus is a major issue if Israel proceeds with the annexation of the West Bank. Given the uncertain political and security landscape, annexation ambitions may push Palestinians residing in the West Bank to flee their homes and communities in search of safety. Because of its geographic proximity and existing Palestinian population, Jordan is expected to be the most urgent destination for many of these displaced Palestinians. Jordan, on the other hand, is already dealing with a large number of refugees from previous regional crises, including Syrians and Palestinians. Additional Palestinian refugees might put an enormous pressure on Jordan's resources, infrastructure, and political stability. The U.S. has considered separate defense treaties with both Israel and Saudi Arabia, which might have enormous ramifications for regional security. These treaties may benefit the United States by encouraging stability and minimizing the necessity for an American military presence in the region. Such accords would provide further security assurances to Israel and Saudi Arabia, as well as bolster their respective roles in regional geopolitics. The recent Hamas strike has complicated the potential peace accord. It has provided a chance for Israeli far-right cabinet members who push for the annexation of the West Bank to advance their agenda. The incident and its aftermath may have an impact on the political landscape and priorities, making a peaceful conclusion more difficult. It emphasizes the importance of managing the issue and finding diplomatic solutions to avoid further escalation. Given the hazardous scenario, it is critical to effectively handle the crisis, prevent further escalation, and engage in discussions to avoid disaster. In this scenario, a catastrophe could include a larger conflict, widespread displacement, and regional instability. As a result, foreign parties, including the U.S. and other regional countries, have a vested interest in preventing such a situation and preserving the prospects of a peace agreement that could restore stability to the region. Diplomacy and conflict resolution are critical in dealing with these issues. And that's all for today's video. This is Visionomics, signing out.